What's up, Instagram? Welcome to my second live ever in the history of all of Instagram with our second Woman Crush Wednesday, which I pretty much just hold when I feel like it on Wednesdays. And I'm super excited to share our guest today, which is Olivia. And let me get her on here. Beep, up, boop, beep. Yay, it worked. Okay, I have to
We
get
did
my
it.
like spacing down. I know.
Yeah,
We've been
same. I was like,
conquering some serious technology skills or climbing some serious technology mountains the past couple of weeks, I think.
totally. It's all a learning experience. And I feel like that's so relevant to what we teach because you only have to be one step ahead, right? We're like figuring it out ourselves. We're slowly doing it. And then we can share that with other people as well. So it's pretty neat how that works.
I know, it's so good. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to share the world with you. And before we dive in, I just want to introduce you to everyone.
Okay.
This is Olivia Coleman. We actually started out, she was one of my clients, and now she is my friend, and we collaborate on a bunch of awesome projects. We led a workshop a couple weeks ago about raising your rates, and we're holding another one soon. We'll plug it at the end. But in general, to like sum up Olivia, she is essentially an alchemist. She takes a brand or a person's purpose and beautifully transforms it into this like art, this crystal clear messaging and really beautiful way, not only aesthetically, which I love your aesthetic. I know you don't claim designer or anything like that, but to me, you're a designer and an
Thank
artist in
you.
that way. But to me, really like sum up the true art of taking someone's ideas and purpose and this urge to help people or wanting to help people and delivering it in this really awesome package that helps empower small businesses and big businesses now, and essentially through coaching and social media. And I want to know if I missed anything there or if you would change anything about the way I said that.
I think that was beautiful. I'm blushing over here.
Yay. Okay, good. Already in the feelings. That's how we like to keep it.
Definitely.
So, how do you say what you do when you first meet people?
So it kind of depends on each person and their own experience, but I think you really nailed it. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm here to help listen to your needs and highlight you and your services. So it looks different for people. Basically, it's meeting them where they're at. But what I'm here to do is really take what your passion is and make sure the right people are seeing it, make sure you're feeling confident about how you're getting out there, and most importantly, staying organized. I feel like from what I've learned from working with women entrepreneurs is that's a huge struggle because it's not something that we're taught when we're younger of like how to organize the back end of your business. Like that just doesn't come with like the programming of life. So it's really important for me to show the skills that I've learned over time and what's worked for me and make sure that each individual feels empowered to show up as themselves on social media in a purely authentic way and also attracting the people that they genuinely want to work with.
That's amazing. It sounds like heaven. And seriously, you're amazing at what you do. I like half jokingly, but like dead serious, call you one of my like star students because you're just like a shining example of what I truly believe success is, which isn't just about making money or like being able to hustle and build like a bro kind of hyper masculine business, but really embodying what it means to be able to be yourself and create room for yourself and make money and have fun and help people. So kind of like a holistic approach to success.
And I think a lot of
Um,
that comes from just like finding confidence in yourself to do exactly what you want to do. And I think that it's something that we talk about often, but it's really like I had to come to terms with a lot of traits about myself that I thought were like negative or bad or harmful and found out that those are actually my strengths and that I really need to work on those strengths. So rather than denying the part of me that likes to work just a few hours a day and like be like lazy, instead I was like, well, why don't I just guide my business towards that structure and then I can utilize my time to do other things that I'm really passionate about. So it's coming with a lot of ups and downs, but I think the general theme is like accepting and finding those traits that make you you and really highlighting them.
Awesome. I love that. So, tell us how you got here. Like, tell us how you arrived at business ownership. Did you always know you wanted to do something with branding or business or content creation, or did you pivot at some point? Give us like the backstory.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could honestly talk about it for days, but I'd say like the Cliff Note version is like I had fully no idea that I was going to do this. My both my parents are entrepreneurs, so it's always something that I've been around since I was really young. But I actually went to school for marine biology in Florida and was on the path to be like full on scientist, like in the lab, doing research, just kind of like focusing on that. But after I graduated college, I applied to like 100 jobs and didn't even hear back from people. And I was like, okay, that's not what I'm going to do right now. So I decided to travel and work on organic farms and really see the world in a way that I hadn't before. And I genuinely feel like those like first few months out of college, I learned so much more than I did like the last 4 years of my life. Even though it was an incredible experience before, it was like I was able to see how I reacted as myself as an individual in the world rather than part of this other system. And I got service jobs eventually to try to like fund my experiences, and I kept getting fired. Like just like very blatantly, like I think I got fired from 4 of my jobs because people would be like, okay, well, it's time to sweep the floor. And I was like, I don't want to sweep the floor. Like I had such a hard time with people telling me what to do. And I don't think I kind of knew that that was part of my personality, but I don't think I really understood it until I had someone over me being like, do this. And I was like, haha, no. Um, so that's kind of what led me into business ownership. I was like, damn, I really should not be working for somebody else. I can't, like, I literally can't work for somebody else. It wasn't like a choice. It was like, this clearly is not working. So let's think of something else. And that's kind of how the journey began with social media consulting.
That's awesome. And so remind me, did you go into like a corporate job with social media or you went right into freelancing and business ownership and all that?
I went right into freelancing, kind of by accident, as most things happen. Someone was hosting this retreat, and I said, hey, I really want to be a part of this in whatever way. And she's like, well, the only thing I really need help with is social media. And I was like, I can do that, having fully no idea, no skill set. And I was like, I think I can figure it out. And she became my first client, and I made a ton of mistakes. And eventually she was like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work out because I was like very clearly still trying to figure myself out like years and years ago. And through that, like took on another client and like learned some skills from that first one and just kind of built upon that to reach the point where I am today.
I love that so much. I also really, really enjoyed that you got fired a lot.
Oh yeah, it's something that like at first I like didn't want to tell people because I was concerned about the stigma behind that, but it really just shows like who I am as a person and how it guided me towards working for myself.
Yeah, and maybe even like today too, like the non-ideal client thing. It's like if someone lets you go or like your time together has passed, it's like just not, it's just time to part ways and that's okay.
Totally. Yeah, exactly it.
Awesome. So is there an age, or like the age I want to say is like 13, but would 13-year-old Olivia, what would she be most excited about your life now?
I've been thinking about that so much recently. Like I had this moment a few days ago where I was looking in the mirror and I was like, what if like younger me, saw my life, saw what I was doing, like how would she feel? And I think the first thing would be just like surprised that I went in the direction that I went in because I totally had a different version of myself that I imagined I was going to become as like a quote unquote adult. But I think that like just my overall happiness. Like when I was younger, I struggled so much with anxiety and depression, and I kind of just assumed that that was going to be me for the rest of my life. And for me to be in a place where I really worked through those experiences and came on the other end with like a loving boyfriend and amazing, like supporting myself in my work, living in a beautiful home in California, like I think overall, just like taking that step back and having that bird's eye view of like, I actually was able to work through a lot of really hard times and get to a point where I'm feeling genuinely happy to be alive.
That's awesome. I love that. What was what was 13-year-old Olivia like? What was like the fashion?
The
What was she
fashion
doing?
was strong. Okay.
It was strong.
Yeah. Like highlighter pink gaucho pants. Definitely
Thank
like
you.
a, yeah, limited to butterfly t-shirt, maybe with like a rainbow and like a cat trying to like jump out of it. Definitely those like earrings that came from Claire's that had those like the sticky balls that were really colorful
Okay.
with like the matching bracelet, obviously. And then I went through a very specific phase of like taking all of these tiny butterfly clips and making like a mosaic in my hair with like 50 all at once. I just had them like plated on the top of my head, and that was like the go-to Olivia aesthetic.
It's seriously not fair because my 13-year-old fashion was tragic. That sounds amazing. And actually that sounds like still on trend.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
She's
We'll
ahead
have
of
to
her time.
exchange we'll have to exchange photos of younger us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, I look like a boy. I just look
Great.
like a boy. Yeah. It wasn't
Perfect.
too involved. Yeah. I love that. Okay, cool. So let's I want to dive into the nitty-gritty of
Do
like
it.
she's all, yeah, do it.
I'm ready.
I want to dive into the nitty-gritty of kind of the not the dark side of owning your own business, but just like what people don't see. And I'm wondering if you're okay with sharing kind of like what your biggest fear is, or what how that fear comes up, and like what the fear is saying when you have those moments of self-doubt in your business, or maybe like your life in general. It doesn't just have to be with your biz.
Totally. And doubt comes up all the time. And I thought it would go away. I was like, okay, first year, hard. And then you move through it and then you understand things, then it's easier. But really, doubt just comes up, but shows in different ways. So maybe I started with some kind of doubt and fear and then worked through that. And then like a new one pops up and I'm like, oh, what are you? What's going on there? So my current fear right now, I think, is like because I'm starting to take on more clients with like more real stakes. I'm like, what if I steer them wrong? And I know wholeheartedly, like my logistical side can come out and voice of reason and saying like, you know what you're doing, like be confident in it, move through it. But at the same time, it's like what we're doing, we're really taking on people and really working on their life passions and their dreams. And it's like so incredible, and that's where the magic happens, but it's also kind of intimidating sometimes, like we're giving our advice and knowing what feels right in the moment, but at the same time it's like they trust us so much, and it's like I really just want to do my best to have them really actualize their dreams.
I love that. So what is like, does the voice in your head say like you're not cut out for this, or like you better not fuck this up, or is there like does the voice say a particular phrase that you hear a lot?
I think the voice is like, what if there's something that you're missing? Like, what if there's something that you don't know that can be revolutionary for them? And what if like I'm not geared for this? So it kind of, the more that I unpack it, the bigger the fear gets, right? It's like the baseline fear is like, oh, what if I don't give the best advice? And then the like hardcore fear at the end of it is like, what if I fuck up somebody's life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is a big deal. And I think too, maybe like in some ways that fear is maybe what makes you so good at your job, because like you give so much of a fuck. It's like it's not just a client. And I think I come across that too. It's like they're not just people I work for and that pay me. It's like it's a pretty involved in like intimate relationship. And I would say too, like sometimes you know more about your clients than anyone else in their life, or sometimes they even know more about you than anyone else in your life.
Definitely. And it's like taking on the therapist role a lot of the time. And just like sometimes I'll go into a meeting thinking we're going to be talking about branding, and we end up talking about like someone's breakup that they just had. And it's like it really depends on the day and the time, but it's like really intimately getting to know people. And I feel like the moment where I really felt taken care of when we were working together is like you're like, okay, email me throughout the week for check-ins. And I was like not wanting to bother you, and you're like, hey, you're not emailing me, so we're going to start having more sessions together. And I was like, oh, like you really are invested in my outcome. And I feel like I completely integrated that into the way that I work with people, from learning just like how to show up for our clients. And I definitely get really invested and pour out everything that I have into my clients to like have it be this like mutually beneficial experience.
I love that. It's like butter.
Yeah.
And I can just feel the, yeah, like the passion. And I can feel that when you say that, you're not getting like lost in your clients. Like when you say like you pour your heart and soul, it's not like you're getting lost in them or letting go of boundaries or like
Mm-hmm.
who you are in your work.
Yeah, I learned that lesson through trial and error for sure. I feel like as is with all of us, right? Like I definitely got way too involved in the past and just like couldn't sleep at night thinking about my, clients and the work that I had to do and like definitely didn't have any work life separation. And now I'm at a point where I am invested, but only the times where I'm like, okay, this is us. We're here doing this together. Like in the sessions, when I'm reaching out, that's when I'm like fully present, but also learning to like take that step back when I'm done with them, being like, okay, that's not me right now, like off duty.
Love it. And so do you have, or are you comfortable sharing, like, do you have an example of you not having boundaries, maybe with like a not current client or like a horror, client horror story?
Oh my God, 100. Yeah, so I was working with this one woman who immediately when we got on the phone, this is like right when I first started, I was like, I I can't do this. I was like, I can't do this. This is too intense, too much. She was like very much like already demanding from our first conversation. I was barely able to speak, but I was like, I need money and clients and I'm just starting out, so let's do it anyway. And fully against everything that was telling me no, I was like, yes, sure. And I think it was like 3 weeks of me just like trying to please this person. I was making tons of graphics, sending them for review. I feel like it was the kind of person that's like, she'll never be satisfied with the work that we were doing. And it just got to a point where I was like, I literally can't work with you anymore. And I think that was the first time I had to transition out of working with a client because it was just like so inherent that like our energies didn't match together. And I was forcing it for so long that I think that I just got to a point where I was so burnt out and resentful towards her that I was like, this is not a healthy situation.
Yeah, that sounds not very healthy. Did you like have like a call with her or did you email or how did you handle the offboarding?
I think I emailed it. I was like, I don't even know if I could get on one more phone call with this person. I was like totally just like energetically tapped out and was trying to like find the easiest way to just like swiftly move through that.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
Um, how, what is something that surprised you about being a business owner that you didn't think was true?
I think what surprised me the most was like for my own personal experience, listening to my intuition really strongly with clients. I think that it was easy for me to do that in my like daily life outside of work, where I can be like, oh, this makes sense to me. And but then when I started working with clients, I would say things that I didn't even know where they were coming from. It kind of just like came out of my mouth, and I just kind of opened my mouth and let whatever words needed to come out came out, and noticing how that would affect people and like feeling really spot on with their life experiences. And a lot of the time, people not a lot of the time, but sometimes when I'm taking on a new client, they're like, "Oh, what's your training?" And I'm like, "My training is just like my own intuition, and like my strategy is just like whatever comes to me in the moment." And I think it's like rather than planning so intensely and like making sure I have everything ready for each person, I kind of just allow the experience to take over. And sometimes I'm more of just like a participant to the entire flow of it. So yes, I'm guiding the conversation, but I'm not going in with any preconceived notions of who they are or what they need, and just kind of like tons of allowing.
I love that. That's my favorite word. It actually is what I wrote on like my the beginning of my journals. I keep all the journals with my client notes. So like every session I'm jotting down, and 2020 was allow. And I guess to be fair, we've been doing a lot of allowing this year.
Oh yeah.
And surrendering and maybe
Yep.
pulling our hair out. But
Yep.
I love that too. Instead of this idea of like trying to control a situation or trying to make things happen, we allow things to happen, and we kind of step in with this embodied and like boundary, not afraid to make boundaries confidence, but it's actually quite a soft presence. It's not that like mashing masculine, have to make this happen, when you're in that nice little sweet spot in all the
Absolutely.
things.
Oh, completely.
And I feel like everything from like pricing, outreach, back end of your business building into like the actual sessions, not that we should here, but could feel like they're in that sweet spot if you're doing it in a way that has space for you.
100%. It's like, as cliche as it sounds, it's really just about like going with the flow and doing what feels right. And I think that it's frustrating for clients sometimes to hear that. They'll say, "Well, how many followers am I going to get working with you?" Or what can I expect with this? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll find out. That's it. And like I really love that. Like the not knowingness to me is the most exciting part. And I think it really stresses people out. And I think part of my role is just like allowing people to like remind them that like it's good, it's okay not to know. We'll find out eventually, but we don't need to know right now.
I love that. And too with like, because I come across with a lot of like across all different industries, like no matter what industry they're in, I'm like, you're like a coach though. Like even though you're doing it through social media or maybe under the title of consulting, like you really are coaching people. And if you're working with people at all, you're having to read and coach them in some ways. So there is that element of like helping them kind of like shepherd them into understanding what they don't even know they need.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to kind of lean on you and rely on you, which is also why it's important, I think, too, for anyone watching, no matter what your business is, like really embodying that you're doing more than whatever you're just doing. And it's like, it's not just social media. It's not just being a DJ. It's not just selling t-shirts. It's you're creating an experience, and the essence of the way you do things is going to connect with your particular ideal client. Plug for later, foreshadowing. And an experience that will be unique and special and different in a way that like no one else can do.
100%. Yeah, and it's like I think in the past, knowing the work that I do now, I would try to want to explain it all on my website or how I talk to people, where I'm like, well, it's not just social media, it's actually business coaching and it's therapy and it's this and it's that. But like, I don't really want to do that, I kind of like that surprise where someone's like, oh, I need help posting photos on Instagram, but they come out of it like healing their relationship with their parents and like finding their own power. It's like that's the surprise that I'm like excited to like get in there with. It's definitely not just like I help people with their Instagram. It's like 100 other things that come along with it and so many lessons learned along the way that it's like I don't even want to try to explain it. I kind of just want people to experience it for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like when someone's like, "Can you help me build a website?" Like I'm like, I can't just build you the website. Like we have to do like 10 weeks of work before this to get to
Exactly.
even the point where we know where you're going with this and whatever. And they're like, they kind of look like this. Like I just, I don't know, like a deer in the headlights. Like what? I just wanted you to build a website. I'm like,
Oh,
someone else who
totally.
just builds websites will have to do that.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like if you say that to someone and they're like, I need help with the website, and you're like, well, it's actually all this stuff, you're either gonna get, yeah, but I just want the website, and they're not ready to like show up for themselves and go deep into it, or you're with someone that's like, you know what, I actually could use a little life reset. Let's do it. And that's how we know that those are the people that we want to work with. Because for the people who do just want that website built, like, cool, there's someone else that can do that. That's not our role. Our role is to like take it 100 steps further and really get to the core of our own essence, which is like so crazy. Like what we're talking about is so wild, you know?
I know. It's fun to be able to hash this out because I feel like I get to talk about it, or I talk about it for hours at a time in our Zoom rooms, but I feel like I haven't had the chance to like flesh all this out in public much because I'm so
Yep.
deep in it. And it's like I love this for anyone like working on their business to think about it as the bigger picture, and also to share too, like when you're hiring a coach or a social media person or whatever it is, like, do you just want the social media, or do you want someone who's like gonna integrate and think about like the holistic picture for both you and also the impact you're having on the world? And maybe you're not ready for that, and that's okay too. But also, if you're tuning in, you probably are more like that. So maybe having keeping that in mind as you consider like hiring out and wherever you shop or whoever you hire or anything like that, keeping that in mind too. Or if you're still your corporate job and you're like a teacher or a therapist or an actual therapist or
Mm-hmm.
whoever else, like it's not just therapy, like you're a part of creating sustainable change in a world that needs a lot of change.
Right. And it's not our role to make someone decide that it's their time. Like I think I see people suffering and in the past I was like, well, I know the answers. I know how to help you. Like come with me, like we can do this together. And I think it just was from time and time again trying to help someone who just like wasn't asking for my help and wasn't wanting to change, that I realized that like that's not my role. My role isn't to inspire people to change when they're not ready for it. My role is to help guide people who are already on that journey of self-exploration and really just like share the tools that I have to like guide them along rather than like forcing to like shake someone awake, you know?
Yeah, they'll have to probably pay extra for that too because it's so much more energy,
Yeah.
and it's a surefire way to burn out. And I love that too because not just in your business, like really finding a way to create either like an onboarding process or like the way you're reaching out to people, creating a way to ensure that they are inviting you into solving their problem or helping them fix like whatever's going on or whatever your niche is, instead of just someone who wants you to fix it for them and just or I guess if that's your niche, whatever. But
Right.
you get the idea. And then also in your personal life, like I spent a lot of time in the first whatever like 27 years or 28 years and still working my way out 31 years later of trying to help people who don't want to be helped. And it's just such a huge energy suck. And it's also like kind of rude. Like, if someone didn't ask for your help, why are you going? Like, for me, it's like, why am I tuning in and like reading into all their energy and trauma and shit when they
Yep.
didn't ask me, they didn't invite me to. So I need to back off and wait for the invitation. And did we do your human design, or do you know human design?
Yeah, I remember you posted something about it, and I was like, oh, I want to know my human design, like just so casually. And then you wrote up this huge thing about me, and I was like crying. Like, I didn't even
Aw,
know what I was getting myself into. I was like, this is you, like, what you sent me was like the most someone like understood who I
aw.
am. And I was like, shocked. Like, that was like a huge turning point for me. And I had no, I was just like casually sitting on the couch, like, oh, what's human design? And then being like, oh my God, everything makes sense.
Damn it, I cracked it open. Um,
Totally.
and do you remember what your type is?
Manifesting generator.
Okay, cool. So like the gist of that is, and have you done more research or was it just that?
I've done a little more research, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, yeah. So the gist for anyone watching is like manifesting generators are typically good at like many projects at once. And you're quite good like with energy. Instead of my type, like I burn out. I'm a projector and I get tired like and drained really quickly. We're only supposed to work like 3 hours a day, which I'm making more space for that, but I like crack out at my job and I love it. So sometimes I do more.
Hmm.
But we're supposed to do like very limited interaction. And then like we have to manually recharge our sacral center, so our second chakra. So I have to constantly work to recharge and like go out in nature and clear and like do all this shit, which like I love who I am and whatever. But if I could just be a manifesting generator that just had like a bunch of energy and didn't get like sucked dry by a bunch of people, or not as much. And yeah, do you remember anything else about a man gen?
Ooh. Um, I think what I relate to the most is being able to have a lot of projects at once. I think that's another reason why I wasn't so attracted to a conventional role or a conventional job is because like I love my mind to be stretched in every direction and only focusing on one thing drives me mad. Like when I make art, I work on like watercolors because I can make something in like 5 minutes and then like move on to the next thing, or like do a few different things at the same time as paint dries. And I really recognize that for myself to feel like sustained, valued, and connected to the work that I'm doing, I have to be multitasking all the time. And it works for me. Like some people need just one focus, and that's like some people really love having a 9 to 5 where they can show up every day, know what they're getting themselves into, full routine, one project. And to me, that's like a personal nightmare. But it works for people. Like that works. Like some people are like, yes, that's what I'm striving towards. And that's amazing that but like all humans are so wildly different and we all focus our attention in different ways. And for me, it just so happens that I want like all of these different tabs open and I'm like moving around, and I'm really good at that. Like it just like that's inherently how I work.
I think that's really great that like multitasking is good for you. In some ways, me too, but I think I kind of walk the line between like overcompensating and multitasking, because there is a
Hmm.
bit of like a trauma response or like an overcompensation when, for me, when I'm feeling insecure, and so I'll try to do a bunch of things to like prove my worth. But I love that that's like a natural state for you. And I also love how there's like so many different ways something. Oh, Cruz is joining us.
Hi.
Um, Ways that one particular thing can manifest differently in like a positive or maybe like an overwhelming way for different people.
Totally. And like what you were like from my reflection of what you were saying is like maybe if you're feeling like you're not doing enough, you like make tasks for yourself and you like add things to your plate. And like I noticed for myself, I don't do anything I don't have to do. Like I do not, I am not the kind of person that's going to make busy work for myself. I don't want to like take on a new project just to like quiet my mind. Like I like to have like some structure in the sense of like I know the projects that I have to work on. I know how long I want to have to work on them, but like I definitely don't go out of my way to create more work for myself. Like I'm like, what's the easiest way to do something, the quickest way to do that? And I completely take that on to how I teach with my clients. Like we're just going to go with the basics. We're going to go with exactly what you need to know. We're going to keep it simple. We're not going to take all this extra information in here. Like we're just going to like do what we need to do. But
Okay.
here's like 10 ways to do it.
Yeah. And just like straight to the point.
Exactly.
Dope. So what do you do when you realize you're kind of getting into that funk of like fear or self-doubt or, however that manifests, and you can feel it just kind of building and you're getting overwhelmed? What is your action plan for when that happens to you?
So my honest answer is that I just wait it out. And I know that for some people, there needs to be this like spark of like that re-motivation. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna reach out to 10 clients. I'm gonna start this. Like for me, when I'm in the funk, I just like fully allow it to happen. And I think that's how I like going back to our first conversation, like that's how I got through my depression was like instead of trying to fight it and like try to pull myself out, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna allow this bad moment to be how it is. And maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. And if that doesn't work, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. And I think that that relates to for me and work as well. It's like sometimes with the cycle of life, it's like I feel sticky, I feel frustrated, I feel confused, or I have doubt. And a lot of the times, if I just like sleep on it or wait a few days, something externally will happen. Someone will reach out to me that's a potential client. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do this again. Or, yeah, okay, now I have a little more energy to post. But it's really going with my own energetic flow and making sure that like I'm taking care of myself and not like pushing myself too hard in any direction where I'm going to like fight it, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh, it does.
Yeah.
And star student. I love it so much. I was just on a call with a client today, and she was like, well, what do you do when, like you're worried about getting clients and whatever, there's been a lull, just like nothing's working, you're putting yourself out there. And I'm like, I turn everything off and I just walk away. And I
Yep.
walk away until I don't feel like that. And it might be like weeks. And that's what it means to me to not betray myself, is to not operate from that like I'm not enough place, even though I have a
Hmm.
tendency to go back the other way or try to make work so I can feel good enough.
Yep.
And literally stopping or taking a vacation, especially when it feels like you can't,
Mm-hmm.
and really taking that time to step away. Because otherwise, even if you do get a client when you're operating out of that place, it's going to be maybe like that horror story of a client that isn't quite in alignment because you maybe let certain boundaries slide or certain standards slide that you wouldn't normally if you weren't so desperate.
Mm-hmm.
So really like being like no and standing in your worth and standing in like I deserve to have things a certain way and to feel a certain way when I step into that. Even though it's like terrifying as fuck to honor that.
Completely. Yeah, it's so scary to feel like, well, if I'm not working, I'm not progressing. But it's really taking that moment to step back that allows you to have that recharge to then energetically pull in more positive experiences. And I feel like that's the beauty of owning your own business. Like when you do have a 9 to 5, you're expected to report to work every day, no matter how bad you're feeling or how much doubt's coming up in your life or regret. Like you don't have that moment to process anything. It's like, well, you're still in this cycle. And I think having an entrepreneurial mindset is more of a feminine, like more of like a feminine, energetic approach where it's like, I don't feel like working today, so I'm not going to work today, and that's going to recharge me. So when I do work tomorrow, I'm more with it. I don't need to just suffer and like push through, but rather take what I need for myself to take care of me so I can then take care of other people when the time's right.
Yeah, and like the patriarchy, of course I have to throw that in there.
Please.
Patriarchy and all of this other like white supremacy shit we're working to well, burn down.
Yep.
But is based off of this like hyper masculine. And when we say feminine and masculine, by the way, we're talking about the energies, not genders or bodies. And everyone has both. So everyone has feminine and masculine energy. And that kind of 9 to 5 corporate environment, it doesn't pay attention to seasons. It just kind of like made up a calendar and then decided on these days you have to mash through exactly the same way at these certain hours based off of what we say the calendar is instead of like how you're feeling. And then for women as well, like our hormones and our feelings, and it's definitely not on like a cycle or the seasons or based around processing anything. And so it's kind of built to profit, or it is built to profit off of you staying small and you not having room for yourself. And it continues to also perpetuate this like not enoughness and chasing the next big thing all within that. So not only is creating an intuition-led life and business for yourself as much as you can easier and better for you to be yourself and process your feelings, it's also a part of the revolution where you get to literally say fuck the man when I'm not feeling good, and instead of buying into this other story, I'm going to take a break.
Mm-hmm. That is so well said. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like even though theoretically we like get glimpses of that and we know it, just like being able to call it for what it is and really shed a light on that is so important and so helpful as a reminder.
Yeah, and so like we're literally committing the revolution right now by having a call in the middle of the day that isn't
Yeah.
necessarily having to do with work, but kind of, because everything we do.
Yeah, totally.
Um, what are can you give everyone like some social media tips, or do you have
Oh,
like any insight into common misconceptions about social media?
that's a great question. I think that the biggest hurdle that people have to go through, especially when starting their own business and getting themselves out there, is to stop comparing themselves to other people. And like, yes, it's cliche, and like, yes, we know that, but like, literally, like, stop looking at other people's Instagram and saying, well, maybe I should do that too. If they're posting a giveaway, should I be posting a giveaway? And if this person's has this color scheme, should I have this color scheme? Like, just like letting all of that go and just choosing whatever is good for you. And I think like so many times in my coaching session, someone's like, well, do you think this will be good for the brand? And I'm like, do you like it? Do you like those colors? Like that's all that really matters. So the biggest tip that I could possibly give is just do whatever you like. There really truly is not one way to do it. There's not even like 100 different combinations. There's like it's really finding out what works for you genuinely and focusing on that. And if, for example, you like to post every day and make sure that you're posting like when it feels relevant and genuine in that moment, that's great. But some people don't want to sit every single day and focus their time on social media. So then it's learning the skills to plan ahead, plan the content calendar, and get it out there so something is scheduling it for them and they can step away. So it's really like for social media in general. It's figuring out what works for you with how you want to get yourself out there and like how much time you want to dedicate and when you want to dedicate it. And then creating a strategy around that that best suits your own personal needs.
Good job. I'm going to use that too. You know, I'm a perpetual only post in the moment person. Um, I've tried to do the scheduling thing and it just doesn't work, but I'll keep revisiting it and see how that
But
works.
here's the thing, like for me, my I post spot on. Like the moment that it's happening, I'm like, oh, this is the photo, this is the caption.
And they are spot on posts.
Thank you. But that like that works for me because like I'm already in the flow of it. Like that's my job. I'm already just like on Instagram and I like doing things in like chronological order of like this happened to me today and this is what I'm thinking about literally right now. But knowing that like that I don't want to just preach that to everybody because that doesn't work for everyone. So if posting on the fly works for you and it's like feeling good and you're not feeling like you're taking too much time out of your day or mental space to do that, then like keep doing it like that.
Cool. Good advice. Love it. There's something for everyone here.
Exactly.
Um, and what is something you would say to someone who is either a freelancer and is having a hard time taking themselves seriously as a business owner? And that could have to do with like social media or just in general. Advice or just kind of like words that you would like to share about whether or not they should keep going.
Yeah. So for someone who's like, I like the way you first phrased it of like someone who's starting out maybe and doesn't take themselves so seriously. I think there's tiny little logistical things that you can do on your own to make you feel more professional. So like I definitely struggled with like when people are like, what do you do for work? I'm like, oh, no, I don't know, like nothing, it's fine. You know, I would like shy away from that. So first step is just owning it straight up to say that I'm trying to be a social media manager. I'm looking into starting a business coaching thing. Like to say like, this is what I do. I'm a social media consultant. This is the work that I do. And then taking a little bit of branding to like start getting a cohesive feel together. So if you like can establish colors or create a quick logo on Canva or even just have the basis of a website for me, like that gave me more confidence. I felt more legitimate because I can like send someone, oh, here's my website. This is the job that I do. And I feel like maybe that isn't relative for everyone. I'm not saying you have to have a website to be legitimate, you have to have a logo, but I think there are ways where you can feel a little bit more professional, which will overall give you the confidence to continue to like talk about your work and show up and being like, yes, this is who I am and really taking on that role and identity.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think practical as well. And to maybe even like have fun with doing those things. Like instead of
Yep.
being like, is this logo good enough? Or like, how the fuck am I going to make the most beautiful website ever? And it's like, just put something together.
Mm-hmm.
Like Olivia said, like do like the colors and just kind of like bit by bit. You can always go back and change it. But play with it and like take yourself seriously. I think too, it's no one's gonna do it for you. Like, and if you don't take it seriously, or people aren't gonna take it seriously until you do too, I think.
Totally. And I think that that is another reason why we're here doing the work that we're doing because people want to take it seriously. They're like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I want to have a business, but I don't know how to, or I don't know what my next steps are. So I want someone to tell me what to do. So I think it's up to them to first have that commitment inside themselves that they're like, I want to do this. And then also the recognition that like, maybe I can't do this alone. And that's when we come in to just like, as I said before, just guide them through that experience. It's not like, well, I'm going to create you a website. It's like, we're
Right.
going to work together to figure out what makes the most sense for you.
For you. Yeah, exactly. Um, and on that note, who was your ideal client? Who do you want to work with?
Great question. So I fully have focused my direction on working with women entrepreneurs in the health and wellness field. And that not necessarily started by me like dreaming up who I wanted my client to be. I think that that's just who I naturally attracted because that's what I'm interested in. Like I love alternative medicine, alternative healing, spirituality. So I think that naturally the people that gravitated towards me were women who it's like, that's who I want to work with and women who are really ready to take that next step in their business, but just like genuinely don't know what the next steps are. I feel like my role really is to work one-on-one with women entrepreneurs just starting out to really dream up a full business plan for them. Someone who's dedicated to taking the time in between the meetings to create that little logo, to like tinker around on the website and really like start to shift the way that they see themselves in their business, the way that they see the world, and working together to create something that's bigger than what they could have even dreamed of in the beginning.
Ah, goosebumps. That's powerful.
Thank you.
How can women in the health and wellness industry find you, or how do they get a hold of you to work with you?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's interesting. I feel like us talking about the ups and downs of business. I didn't really have people reach out to me for the last few weeks, and I was like, oh, I should be doing more. I should be posting about it. And then all of a sudden, in the last few days, I had like family reach out to me. I had friends that I've been around with for so long reach out to me. I posted like in Colorado, a Facebook group like 6 months ago and someone emailed me. I was like, hey, I saw your post from 6 months ago. So it's really interesting figuring out like where people come from. But I would say like to get to know me the best and get to know my voice and my work through Instagram, scrolling through the posts, looking at my website and seeing if anything I do resonates. But the best way to know if we'd be a good fit together is really just to get on a one-on-one 30-minute call where I can start to like learn what you're doing, learn what your desires are, and see if we'd be a good fit for each other.
Cool. And that's oliviacoleman.co?
Yes.
Okay. And then at Olivia Coleman, all together. You're so lucky you got your own name.
I got my Instagram when I was like 14. I
Dang,
didn't even,
you're
yeah,
ahead of the curve.
I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I thought it was just like photo filters. And so I was posting like all these embarrassing 14-year-old photos of myself doing whatever mischief and thinking I was just editing it. And then like weeks later, I looked back and I was like, someone liked it? Why is there a like on here? Who found this? So
That's
if you scroll
amazing.
for like hours and hours, you can get to those original posts of like me with my cat, like dancing around my living room.
Or maybe even we're close to the butterfly cat jumping out of
Oh
the
yeah,
t-shirt
you
stage.
never
So
know.
there might be that
Some
there
extra
too.
surprises.
That's so funny too. When I first got Instagram, I thought it was also for editing. So I'd be like on a trip and posting just like so many photos. And then my friend texted me like, wow, you're an Instagram machine. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
What is it?
I thought I was just finally able to make my pictures look cool.
Same,
So yeah, that was, I love some cringe-worthy Instagram moments from a long time ago.
same. Two other benefits
Not
of my
recently.
Instagram handle. One, everyone mistakes me for the Olivia Colman actress. And
Well,
so
there's still
anytime,
time. You could add acting to.
you never know. But like anytime there's the Emmys, I'll get like an influx of followers and people being like, I love your work. And I'm like, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, don't correct them.
Exactly. And then like one time there was like a group of someone started an Instagram group of all of the Olivia Colmans on Instagram and people were trying to buy my Instagram handle, like these young teenagers being like, I'll buy it for $10. And I was like, no, thank you.
More like $10,000. We're not
True.
above selling out, or I'm not. But
I will
you
happily
gotta pay
change
the
my
right
username.
price.
Yep, $10,000 sounds about right.
Yeah. I heard a really awesome story about someone who I forget what movie it was, but it was like her name was the name of a movie, and the movie people came and offered, I think around 10 grand, and she's all, if you're coming at me with 10 grand, I know you can give me more than that, and was able to sell it for more. So who knows?
That's
We
amazing.
don't discriminate on how we make money. We're open to all ways,
The key
including
message here.
farming our Instagram accounts out.
Absolutely.
And also too, so check out Olivia if you're interested in working with her, and just in general, like follow that girl. The aesthetic is on point. Like every
Thanks.
single time I see it, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Even when we Zoom, like, I mean, maybe right now you tried like to set it up. I don't know. But even when we Zoom on our personal calls, I'm like, how the fuck did you get your shirt to match the tapestry behind you, to match the glasses, to match whatever? So it's definitely not only really awesome, valuable content that feels good, it's like gorgeous too, and goals for
Thank
sure.
you.
And then me and Olivia are also going to be leading another free workshop on how to find your ideal client. So this will be some awesome additional information on how you can feel good, like in the ways we talked about the past hour, about how to find clients that feel good, where you're not constantly struggling to create boundaries or feel overwhelmed or feel like you've lost yourself in your business. Because without stepping into that with intention and really taking the time to flesh that out in a grounded and empowered way, you're at risk to becoming a victim to your business and being run by your business, and then thinking that it's actually something that's wrong with you and you need to quit. And that's not true. You can easily, well, simply, sometimes it feels like ripping off a band-aid, but pretty
Yep.
simply, I think, learn some easy tips and tricks on how to identify and find your ideal client.
And we'll walk you through the process so it'll feel a little bit more personal. We'll like take it step by step, make sure that everything is really clear, and at the end we're gonna open up to questions. So if you wanted to get some like one-on-one with us, we can make that happen.
Yeah, which normally costs money. So if you want to get in for free, we'll be dropping that on our Instagram, so you can follow us, or you can sign up for either one of our newsletter lists, and we'll announce there too, so you can stay in the know.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I know that we've had so many conversations together, and to be able to like record it and put it out there, it's like exciting because I know that what we have is so powerful, and the magic that you provide and the insights that you give are so helpful for everyone. So I'm really so honored to be a part of this. Would love to do it again, and just like feel so much appreciation for you.
Thank you. And likewise, I really like just get so reinvigorated and lit on fire when I see a woman doing it too. Like it feels like as it's me that's doing it, but it's you that's doing it. That's like how much I celebrate and how much it means to me. So yeah, thanks for being on this crazy journey with me.
Of course, happy to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys know how to find us. And thank you so much, Olivia, for hanging out with us today. And
Thank
we've
you.
got some more fun stuff. I have a feeling coming in the near future for you soon too.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
See you guys later.
Bye.